Welcome back, guys. I'll cover passage 3 and passage 4 from the ACT test number 47. So, as always, I go straight to the question and try to figure out what those questions are asking. So, 21 can be inferred primary purpose of this passage. And 22, which are following, describes the way the first paragraph functions related to passage as a whole. So first paragraph, I'll put 22 here. And then 19, 23. And then 37, 24. And then 27, 25. And then according to the author's comparison, successful story written adults or successful tales told children. Successful storytelling. And then author states that good story share all following except good story share. Children experience overhearing. Voice of adults was significant because author states that when she reads story, adults respond. Adults respond to the story. And then describe 76:30. Okay, let's read together. Reading blind. So it is original published introduced best American short stories. Our first stories come to us through the air. We hear voices. So as we read from the questions, I assume that this particular thing is just like opening up the issue, like which is overhearing is the through the air is overhearing. So when you're kids, you get to listen to your parents like storytelling. That's probably what this part is talking about, maybe. But let's check out the question number 22. Offer assertion that the basis for the author. Yeah, probably F is, so far, F might be the answer. I'll double check later on. Children grow up within web of stories. We listen before we can read. Yeah, as I said earlier. Somewhere listening is more like listening in the voice of adult world on the radio, television, or our daily lives. Often it is overhearing of things we aren't supposed to hear. Eavesdropping on gossip, family secrets. From all these scraps of voices, from the whispers and shouts that surround us. From the silence, unfilled gaps in meaning we patch together for ourselves in an order of events, plot or plots. These then are things that happen. These are the people they happen to. This is the forbidden knowledge. And then we have all been little pitchers with big ears shooed out of the kitchen when the unspoken is being spoken. We have probably all been talebearers because we overhear all the things, blutters at the dinner table, and unwitting violators of adult rules of censorship. Perhaps this is what writers are, those never kicked the habit that remained talebearers. We learn to keep our eyes open, but not to keep our mouth shut. So, which means those storytellers, which is writers, are the one that keep hearing and they write about it. That's basically what it is. And then 23, adult rules of censorship. We refer to rules determined by what do you need to bring to outside or not. Probably sense of pride, property. Yeah, it's like A. which one is proper to, like, deliver to somebody else or not. And then next paragraph, two kinds of stories we first encounter from our idea of what a story is, and color expectations we bring to stories later. Perhaps it is from collisions between these two kinds of stories, what is often called real life. The greedily think of their materials. So real life is material, and what is sometimes dismissed mere literature, kind of things that happen only in the story. So let's go to 25. 25, it says the real life mere literature is, real life stuff is something really happened, but then literature stuff is only in the book. Real life, unlike the literature, unbelievable. This is the opposite. So B, real life is associated with the daily actual event well. So B is the answer for this one. And then writers with nothing but formal sense of will produce that work, but so will one who is only excused for what is on the page is that is really happened. Anyone who has been trapped and bus besides a non-stop talker graced with no narrative skill or sense of timing can testify to that. Expressing yourself is not nearly enough. You must express the story. 24. It says, express the story, not part of. Possess literature, yeah. Retelling events because there occur. Retelling, pacing the telling the story, combined. Retelling is not just merely like delivered by itself. It says something that how you can make it into your own story, right? Because it says anyone can do this, right? Non-stop talker. But then the authors are the one that express yourself is not nearly enough. You must express the story. So which means not just like in talking and talking and talking. So you have to generate your own story. Perhaps all I want from the good story is what children once they listen to tales. They want their attention held, and so do I. I always read to the end out of some adult sense of duty owed. But if I start to fidget and skip pages, wonder if conscience demands I go back and read the middle, it is sign that story is lost. So which means not fun anymore. They want to feel they are in safe hand. They can trust the teller. With children, this may mean simply no speaker will not betray them. Which means it's good. Closing the middle, mixing up heroes and villains, adult readers, more complicated than that. Adult readers involve many dimensions, but the same element, keeping faith. Faith must be kept within the language. The story funny, it is language must be taken seriously. So it's about language, right? And then concrete detail, locale, mannerism, clothing, and shape of the story itself. The story may tease as long as this activity is not used as an end in itself. If there is a promise held out, it must be honored. Whatever is hidden behind the curtain must be revealed at first. And it must be at one and same time completely unexpected and inevitable. It is, in last respect, that story comes closely resembling two of oral predecessors, the riddle and joke. So the riddle and joke is before the story, right? Both in 3 requires same mystify, build up, Okay, and then same surprise twist, some impeccable sense of timing. Okay, and it's guess the riddle at once, it cannot guess because answer makes no sense. If the same joke coming if it's lost and muddled, there's a failure. Story cannot fail in the same way. But anyone who has ever tried to tell a story to children will know there is one thing without which none of the rest is any good. Young children have little sense of dutifulness or delaying anticipation. They're longing to hear a story, but only if longing to tell one. So not put up with your lassitude. So it's like boring, they're not going to listen to you. If you want their full attention, you must give them yours. Sense of urgency. So 30. Sense of urgency, directly telling story with full attention. Yes. Makes sense. Story. No. Okay. And then urgency does not mean frenzy. The story can be quite story, but it must be urgently told. It must be told with much intentness. So having like specific intention in it, right? Entire life depended on it. If writer does because your life as a writer is only as long and as good as story itself. Most of those who hear it or read it will never know you, but they will know the story. Their act of listening is reincarnation, reborn, because storytelling is one person telling to the other person and the other person telling to the other person. That's a reincarnation right there. From listening to the story of others, we learn, tell our own. Yeah, that's exactly like reincarnation means. So 21, primary purpose of this one. This one is about, the storytelling itself, right? So, D, yeah, storytelling. And then 26, successful storytelling between adults and successful telling children. It says adult one, it says more specific dimension. They said that, the specific things that, you need to have. Because it says line 49, adult readers, it is more complicated, involve many dimensions. But so, which means similar attribute no, equal, easy, composed no, little to do with the real life no, shared important characteristics. Yeah, the story shared following is joke and riddles, except mystic by building up, yes. Surprise, twist, yes. Unpredictable ending, is to be. And then over here, the voice of adult world is significant because they can generate their own story. They need to have inputs, right? Which is H. An author state that she reads story, adults respond to the story is that she feel obligated to read it to end. Yeah. Accused to finish, no, guilty, no. Yeah. I think it says something here, out of some adult's sense of duty owed, right? So read to end is the duty. Okay, go to the next passage. So question number 31, it says primary purpose. We can do this after reading the passage, and then except we can do at the end. Astrophysical calculation. There's another one. And then control fusion. Except the passage last describe event sun's life cycle. 41 and then 50. So 40, 50, I guess 35. And not answered. Main purpose, last paragraph. Last paragraph, which is 37. 71, 38. And then agree which of the following agree. Author agree. This is nearly indicate attempt to happen fusion power source. Fusion as a power source. Okay. Let's read. So sign passage, you have to understand big picture of it, okay? Because this is like a more logical passage. So it looks like, sun energy and life cycle and fusion and all that stuff from the reading the questions, we can assume in a way. Sun is fueled by conversion of hydrogen. This nuclear consists of one proton, which is helium, and two neutron. Attempt to harness a fusion and power source. Fusion as a power source, I remember. Control fusion have so far been stymied by the difficulty achieved. Stymied by is I guess, how can I say, interrupted by or prevented from the difficulty of achieving requisite temperature. So it's hard to do it because temperature is too high. They cannot make it. There's even more problem that confine this ultra hot gas physically. Confine means limit. Okay. So how can they contain this ultra hot gas? It's obviously melt any solid container. It is instead to be trapped by magnetic forces, but sun is so massive and gravity holds down the overlying cooler layers, that thereby keeping the lid on the high pressure core. The sun adjusted the structure so that the nuclear power is generated in the core and diffused outward at just the rate needed to balance the heat lost from the surface. Heat that is the basis for the life on Earth. So heat is the basis. The fuel has kept the sun shining for nearly 5 billion years, but when the start run out, another 5 billion years or so, sun's core will contract, getting smaller, outer layer expand, so that 100 million years, brief interval relative to its overall lifetime, the sun will brighten up and expand into kind of unknown as red giant, engulfing the inner planets and vaporizing any life remain on Earth. So they just like expand it out, just wipe out everything. Some of the outer layers will blown off, but the core will then settle down as a white dwarf. So because they're like, burned out, shining with a dull blue glow, no brighter than full moon today. So because it's a white dwarf, so it's gone. No, nothing on the parts to remain the solar system. Okay, I think I can do some questions out of this one. So 34, it says, we can do 33 as well. The first paragraph, control fusion. Transformed, no. It says energy, yeah, which is, it says, yeah, number 5, line 5 says energy. And then the passage, the last describes sun's life cycle, core, white dwarf, yeah, so G. And then yeah, move on to next paragraph. Astrophysicist. Oh yeah, there's one question about this one too. Okay. Question 32 is astrophysicist computed the inside of sun should be like have achieved gratifying feat with its observed radius, brightness, and temperature, so forth, telling confidently what conditions prevail. It's a deep interior, and they can also calculate how it will evolve over the next few billion years. Obviously, these calculations can't be checked directly. We can, however, observe our stars like the sun that are at different stages in our evolution. Having a single snapshot of each star's life is not a fatal handicap. If we have large sample, born different time, available for study, in same way newly landed Martian wouldn't take long infer life cycle human by observe large numbers at different stages, number of nearby stars, discern and distinguish some that still youngsters, not no more than million years old, other all already to swallow up any retinue of planet that once possessed such in inference are based on assumption that atoms and other nuclei are the same somewhere. Okay, so let's do 32 first. Calculation all about stars except inside the sun should be light. Yes, it says like the first here. And how sun will evolve over the next few billion years. Also it says something evolve over the next few billion years right there. And then what the life cycle star bigger or smaller than sun is. And also it says something about life cycle and then different stage and all those things you can see, right? All this area. How long sun will emit dull blue glow? No, nothing to do with this one. That's like, after white dwarf. And then 35, we can do this. 3841 was the purpose. 3841, 38 says something about having single snapshot. Star life not fatal handicap if we have large sample. Okay, so small particular thing is like, verifiable if you have a large sample. So, which means, yeah, C, right there, exactly whatever I said, verify. Next paragraph, astrophysicists can compute just easily as sun's evolution life cycle of stars. That is a half, twice, 10 times the mass of sun. Smaller stars burn their fuel more slowly. In contrast, stars 10 times as heavy as the sun, 4 blue trapezium stars in the constellation of Orion, for instance, shine thousands of times more brightly, consume their fuel more quickly, lifetime or much shorter than the stars, then expire in more violent way by exploding novae that became for a few weeks as bright as several billion suns. Their outer layer blown, so bigger one actually blown away quicker. That's what all this matter. You need to understand. Supernovae represents cataclysmic events in the life of stars, some extreme physical processes. So supernovae naturally fascinate astronomers, but only one person in 10,000 are astronomers. So what possible relevance could these stellar explosions thousands of light years away have to all others, those whose business lie purely on or near the Earth's surface? The surprising answer is that they are fundamental to everyone's environment. Without them, we would never have existed. So supernovae is important for everyone. So let's say 38, it says all the other most nearly means is like most people on Earth. So it actually affects everybody's life on Earth. And then the rest of it says mix atom and made their building block for intricate chemistry of life. since Darwin, we've been aware of evolution and selection that preceded our emergence, and our links with the rest of the biosphere. Astronomers now trace Earth origin back to stars that died before solar system formed. These ancient stars made atoms of which we and our planet are composed. Okay, 37, main last paragraph is like, what's the purpose of doing all this? Like, studying about the stars and like, all this universe and everything too. So, yeah, hey, so yeah. Main primary purpose of this passage is planet's life, I guess. Yeah. And then 36, which are following not answered by information. What is one character's white dwarf? Yes. Assumption that you're made in order to compute. Yes. What is sun so massive compares? Why? No, I didn't really see anything about it. Much fascinated supernova. Yeah. And then likely agree with which fusion will use a power source. It says power source, and then age of star inferred by calculating their approximate sun. No. Trapezoidal star and constellation Orion will longer life. No, shorter life because greater, bigger. Earth and its inhabitants are made up of particles from the, yeah. It says something like, astronomers now trace Earth origin back to star before the solar system. Their ancient made witches and the decomposed. So that's like basically what D talking about. Fusion power source. It says really difficult, right? It says attempt to harness has so far been stymied. So which is not successful, which is okay. That's it for another 2 reading passages. Thank you for watching this, and I'll come back with other sections as well. So we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.